Okay, hello everybody. So here I am, Dr. Geeti Sharma, and today I'll be taking the topic economic development, right? So before we move on to what is the need for economic development in an economy, it is very important that we understand the concept first of all, right? So economic development, if we talk about, is basically the summation of two different aspects, where the first one is economic growth and the second one is economic welfare. When we are like talking about economic growth, so economic growth is something which can be quantified basically. Quantified in the sense that, for example, like we are able to measure per capita income of the country, or we are able to measure the national income of the country. But when we are talking about economic development, so merely on the basis of certain statistics which prove the economic growth of the country, we cannot say that the country is economically developed, right? So for example, if I talk about Indian economy, right? So we may have attained a GDP of, let's say, 7%, for that matter even 8% in the past as well. But still we are struggling as far as the development is concerned, right? So the reason being is that as far as the economic welfare aspect is concerned, which I have pointed out here, is missing somewhere or the other, right? So economic development, if we talk about from the equation point of view, is economic growth plus the economic welfare of the country. So where we may have to take up certain activities which may not directly benefit the economy, but somewhere or the other they are going to benefit the entire economy and will take the economy to one step ahead as far as the development is concerned, right? So now I will like to discuss that what is the need for economic development. So there are n number of reasons that why economic development is necessary, but I would like to highlight here some of the basic points. Where the first one is increase in national income and per capita income. So nevertheless, the first indicator that yes, we are developing economically is none other than that we observe a change in the national income of the country, and as well as, of course, we witness a change in the per capita income of the country as well, which is a very clear indicator that yes, we are on the progress path. Then moving on to the second point, which is very important one, that is increase in capital formation of the country. Right? So when I am talking about capital formation, it means that we are talking about that what is the percentage at which the capital is increasing in the economy annually, right? And this capital formation, this further depends upon two important ingredients, which is like saving and investment. Where your saving talks about that do the people in the economy, right, have a tendency to save with whatever income they have after all the expenses are cut down. So whether they have that tendency of saving, and saving does not mean that you are saving your money in your homemade lockers. Here we are talking about that are we saving the money in the right direction. Maybe whatever I am saving end of the day, I have a habit of saving it in my bank accounts, if nothing else, right? And how it is going to benefit that? Of course, when I save the money in the bank, so the money will go into circulation. So it will not only help you as a person, but it is also going to help your economy. And the second important ingredient is investment. So once you save, then it also becomes important that we invest in the direction where it is not only helping you, but it is also helping the economy. For example, let's say if I have certain amount of money with me, and even if I start a very small business of mine, right? So investing in that kind of a proposition is not only going to help me out, but of course it is probably also going to generate employment for maybe 10 or 15 more people, and it will act as a source of income for them as well. So that's how we will be able to increase the rates of capital formation. Then moving on to the next point, next is reduction in income inequalities. Alright, so earlier I have talked about a point which was talking about the national income of the country. So maybe when I am saying national income, I see that yes, the national income is rising. But here I also need to see that whether the income distribution patterns inside the economy, right, are more or less equal or not. If I once again talk about the Indian economy, we see that there is a lot of difference between, let's say, rich and the poor. The rich are very rich and the poor are very poor. And let me tell you very honestly that these poor are going to be poor for the times to come also, if certain concrete steps are not taken, right? So we have to see that how this income inequality, right, can be reduced to the minimum level so that we can progress on the path of development. Then we talk about structural changes. As we all know that if we talk about the basic structure, we have primary sector, we have secondary sector, and then we talk about the tertiary sector. So all these sectors are working in tandem and they are finally contributing as far as the output of the economy is concerned, right? But here once again we need to see that what is the level of contribution which all these sectors are making, right? Primary is like agriculture, secondary is your industries, and tertiary is talking about your service sector. And it has been witnessed many a times, right, and it is a fact actually, that no economy can progress merely on the basis of development in agriculture. If we want to grow as an economy, we have to focus on the industrial as well as the service sector. I'm not saying that agriculture sector is not good or maybe it is not contributing. But if I say that I want to get development maybe by X year. So if I'm targeting that, I have to work very hard as far as my industrial sector is concerned, and similarly as far as my service sector is concerned. If I once again take the picture of Indian economy, so we have around 50 to 60% of the population which is directly or indirectly linked to agriculture. But if I say that what is the contribution level of agriculture towards GDP, so it is roughly around 15 to 18%, right, which is very, very less. Then next is your human development, right? We may possess a number of natural resources, right? We may have all economic resources which we can think of. But if we do not have a very good human resource, right, if we do not have a efficient, industrious, laborious and disciplined labor force, so we cannot achieve the targets which we are thinking of, right. So human development, when I am saying, I am trying to emphasize on the fact that we have to be high as far as our human development index is concerned. So currently the ranking of India among all the countries of the world is somewhere around 130, which is very, very less. Right? So maybe on one hand I say that I have increased as far as my GDP is concerned, but on the other side if I talk about the Human Development Index, right, which is talking about your life expectancy rate, which is talking about the health conditions of the country, which is talking about what is the education level, right? So there I see that my grade is very, very low. So I cannot develop till the human development is actually taking place in my economy. Then we talk about the growth over a long period of time. So long period of time means here I am talking about a very famous jargon, that is sustainable development. So sustainable development means that once you achieve the development, so that development has to sustain for a long period of time. If I once achieve 8%, so that 8% should be maintained in the times to come, and then I should target more than 8% of GDP. That's how I'll be able to progress, right? And another one is institutional / infrastructural growth. So institutional / infrastructure growth, here we are emphasizing on the basic institutions which are helping out an economy to develop. For example, we talk about the bank structures, we talk about the hospitals, we talk about the medical facilities, education, right? And then if it is infrastructural growth, we have to talk about communication, energy, transportation, all these areas, and what is the level of progress which is taking place in all these areas. So basically all these factors are trying to tell us that when I am talking about economic development, it is not merely the increase in GDP, or it is not merely just the increase in the per capita income of the country, or for that matter any other statistic which we are talking about. But economic development is a holistic phenomenon, right, which is talking about both economic growth and economic welfare. I hope you understood whatever we have discussed in the class, and thank you so much.